This is pure karma in action. Sunny Hostin's past statements against Tomi Lahren's ancestry are now coming back to bite her, and it's opened up a whole Pandora's box against her online, especially after it was recently proven that even her own ancestors engaged in the institution of slavery. Well, how about that? But take a look at this incredible clip from nearly 7 years ago, because it's truly a treat to watch with what we know now.
I have a question. She talks about low skills. What exactly are her skills? Does anybody know?
She's certainly not a historian. What's interesting is someone did do some research on Tomi Lahren's family, and I have it in front of me. Her second great-grandmother had been here for 10 years, yet spoke no English. Oh my gosh. Her great-grandfather's 1985 baptism recorded only in Norwegian because they didn't speak any English. The 1930 census says Tomi's 3 times great-grandmother had been here for 41 years and still spoke German. She didn't speak English either. So she doesn't even know her own history. She certainly doesn't know this country's history. What happened to give me you're tired and you're poor and you're weak, and we're going to welcome
that's
those
why
people
we
with
said
open
clearly
arms.
they haven't read it.
Wait, what? Who is Sunny even responding to? Because that's not at all the crux of what Tomi Lahren originally said. Not just that, Sunny Hostin basically cut at the knee of her own argument by cutting migration records that prove Tomi's ancestors came to the US legally. And it's incredibly mind-bending that even after decades that immigration has become one of the top voting issues in the country, the left still stubbornly refuses to recognize that legal versus illegal migration are 2 very different debates. By the way, I'd love you to be a part of these important conversations of our time, so be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to always stay in the loop. And also, here's what Tomi Lahren actually said that got the panel so fired up, just so you know the full context moving forward.
Well, these people need to understand that it's a privilege to be an American, and that's a privilege that you work towards. It's not a right. You don't just come into this country with low skills, low education, not understanding the language, and come into our country because someone says it makes them feel nice. That's not what this country is based on. We are based on the rule of law, and we believe in bringing the best people into this country to make it even better. We don't believe in importing poverty. Trust me, I live in California. We have enough poverty. We have enough issues. We don't need any more.
Now, here's something peculiar that the political landscape has revealed in the last few years. It's that even on the right that wants stricter illegal immigration controls, you've got an understanding that there's a far right that they need to stay clear of, personified by people like Ann Coulter, with some problematic views even for the modern Republican Party, and yet on left-wing echo chambers like The View, you never see an implicit understanding that you start to move way too far to the left when stopping migration that's illegal is still not a viable common ground. At least, I've never seen that from Sunny Hostin, and it's really rich for her to dig up someone's ancestry to make that cheap shot to begin with. Meghan McCain sounded at least half sane when she put this truth to Sunny.
What she's saying is red meat to Trump's base. The anti-immigration rhetoric is something that I believe was at least 50% of what got him into office. Tomi Lahren has a huge following. She just does, especially online, especially with hardcore Trump supporters. What I will say is there's a difference between being for people going through the proper channels to get here legally and not being for open borders and having compassion for those of us that want to come here. My dad always talked about immigration, saying these are God's children. They're trying to come here to seek a better life. Anyone who's toured the border, women literally die pregnant in the desert trying to get here, and we have to have compassion.
By themselves
but there is a difference. It's okay to have a hardline stance on immigration, saying we want you to go through the proper channels, and still have compassion for the people who are wanting to come here, and that always seems to, for whatever reason.
I recall that that Donald Trump would like Norwegians to come here, so a lot of this is about race.
Well, yes, and I'd like to very quickly say that black immigrants are one of the most educated immigrant groups. Nigerian immigrants in particular are the most educated in the United States, with almost 2/3 holding college
Here's the bottom
degrees.
line. Quit messing with the immigrants because you're incorrect. And we will be right back.
Honestly, it's like the left and the right are talking past each other at this point, and you can tell the kind of echo chamber Sunny Hostin prefers to live in by the fact that she actively quit her account on X after Donald Trump's election win because people disagreeing with her was well too much to handle. Now, the highlight of this entire controversy and drama was when Tomi Lahren herself decided to take Sunny Hostin to task. She's even tweeted things like, quote, "It's clear Sunny is the most miserable and bitter person on TV. even more so than joyless Behar. Pretty good one. And Tomi had endured enough from The View to go on a Fox News segment even then and absolutely torch Sunny Hostin for these attacks.
Well, there is a woman over the weekend who took it upon herself to research my family history in hopes of digging up some kind of a gotcha moment, a gotcha angle to validate illegal immigration and open borders. And what she found was really shocking, guys. She found that my family who came here in the 1800s from Norway and Germany, that they spoke Norwegian and German.
Okay.
And really what she did is prove that my family came here legally. But what she was hoping to do was try to call me a hypocrite for believing in merit-based immigration. Again, she failed miserably. But this really isn't what she calls resistance genealogy. It's just another indication of Trump derangement syndrome. But I really am happy, though, that she has such a fascination with my family history, and I'm hoping that she will take on Elizabeth Warren's next.
And there's another part that we're not discussing here. Even if we play devil's advocate for a second and believe Sunny Hostin, what difference does it make? Does someone's ancestry validate or invalidate someone's opinion in that moment? And if so, how does anyone at all get their voice back in the immigration debate if their opponent can just pull out of their family tree instead? But I think this entire way of thinking is just downstream from the identity-based collectivism we see coming from the left that even stretches far into past generations. Awkwardly for Sunny Hostin, though, this moral lens that she dons came back to bite her when it was revealed to her live during a TV show that she's actually descended from people who engaged in the institution of slavery.
Wow. I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. And I think it's great for our children to know this information. I guess it's a fact of life that this is how some people made their living, on the backs of others.
But you know the difference? We're not going to use this against her because we don't believe your virtue or guilt is inherited through generations or lend you more or less credence for the argument you make. That's what defines the spirit of individualism that gives Tomi Lahren and Sunny Hostin the same space in the debate without resorting to their race or ancestry. Now, what's unfortunate is that despite this clip being almost 7 years old at this point, we're still quibbling about many of the same things, and The View is as stale and out of touch as it was back then. In fact, Sunny might have gotten worse, as we saw in this election with her using race as a cudgel to force the electorate into submission and then gaslight them after the Democratic loss. And if that's how stubborn and static The View has been over 7 years, it's not hard to imagine why it's also been that way for the 30 years of existence. But let me know in the comments what you thought about this exchange, and share this across your social media to get more voices in this conversation. All we can do in the meantime is hope that sanity prevails and this tug of war on the immigration debate eventually lands us in a reasonable center.